Hello everyone, welcome back to Cities Skylines, where today we are back in Lake City, and today what we're going to do is we're going to move on to building the main city square. In the previous episode, I think, or it might have been between episodes, we started putting in this highway, and I've kind of, between the episodes, finished it off, so it's all here, ready to start getting used. Between the episodes, what I've also done is I've also gone and I have put in these quays around the lake to try and kind of manage the flooding of the city a little bit. And what else have I done? I've also upgraded the farming area between episodes, and as a result we have got 2 biomass pallets, a sawmill. Well, not a sawmill, we've got 4 sawmills, a large warehouse which can be filled with zoned forestry products, and I've also gone away and upgraded our power to geothermal power plants, which produces it's a non-polluting power plant that uses geothermal energy to produce electricity, and works 24/7, I presume. We've also gone and gotten a furniture factory, which is producing us a small amount of resources at the moment, although not quite as much as I would like, but that's okay. What else have I done? Oh yeah, so while trying to get this all sorted, I had to remove the island that was originally in the middle of this lake here, and then I put it back. And the reason I put it back, well, I didn't put it back, what I did was I reconstructed a new island, but the reason behind it was because I wanted to put a zoo in the middle of the lake, and what we might do is, if this doesn't really end up working out, what we'll do is we'll get rid of this little area over here, a small little suburb over here, and we'll cut kind of this entire section out, and this will all become part of a zoo. But for now, what we're going to be doing is, and I'll hand over to future me in a moment to talk about what we'll be doing, what's going on, but what we're going to do is we're going to start building the central business district for our new city. Well, not our new city, but the extension of our city. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go away and we're going to start building this, and this is going to very much be like a time-lapse build, I think is the term, I guess. But yeah, we're going to go away now. I'm going to pass you over to future me, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this. Awesome, so thank you past me. We are now here. I've sped the video up by, I think it was 300% in the end, but we're here starting to lay out kind of the office and part of the commercial district that we're going to have as part of our central kind of business district. The offices I have put in where I've put them because they're kind of going to line the highway to kind of give our residential buildings some space from all of that. Here you can see that I'm laying out some 2-lane roads that have got a monorail track on them, and I'm quite fond of using the monorail track because there's something about monorails that I think are quite cool. We don't have any monorails here in New Zealand, and I kind of use Cities Skylines to kind of play around with this idea of cities that use almost predominantly predominantly use, things like monorails to get around the place. It probably wouldn't be too effective, but the idea that I'm working with here is that we have a city that kind of uses boats to get between the major sections, and getting around the city you can either do it by foot or you can travel by monorail if it's slightly longer. So a big part of the central business district is going to be mostly monorail, with a few sections that we'll cover in a little bit that aren't using monorail. Here I'm kind of taking some time to like clear out the space and try and figure out what we're doing in terms of the zoning. So as you can see, I'm using pathways to kind of clear the zoning off of the large the avenues that we've got here. And usually what I would probably do is I've got like a zoning mod that I use when I'm playing in my own time that lets me just turn the zoning on and off on roads, and usually avenues I just turn the zoning off. But here in this one, because it's a vanilla playthrough, we're just using pathways and fences is the other one that I think I use occasionally to get kind of the nice zoning that we want, particularly in the central part of the city. Here you can see I'm kind of darting around and trying to figure out how we're going to fit everything in. And initially I was going to put the monorail tracks kind of just going through the center, but I decided no, we'll need some way of getting the people, you know, around a little bit more. So I do play around with a couple of ideas. As you can see, I've just gotten rid of like an entire section. And here I'm playing around with the idea of having it spaced out by 12. But that doesn't quite work out either. I think that's down to just the way that the monorail station itself is built. But as you can see, I'm playing around with it, still trying to get it to work. And there we go. No, so I got rid of that that station as well. Here you can see that I'm trying to lay it all out so that it kind of looks a little bit nicer. And we're kind of reconstructing everything that we had before, because I can't just like undo all of the progress. I think I've got a couple of mods that let me do that, depending on, or I've got a mod that I use in my own time. But this city, I wanted to go around and use monorails predominantly. Well, I've mentioned it before because we don't have them here in New Zealand, and so I thought, hey, that'd be quite a nice way of doing it. As you can see, I kind of need to fiddle around with the roads to try and get the monorail to sit nicely in there, but it doesn't quite work. And I think in the end I ended up changing it because I wanted the monorail stations more spread out. I wanted to give people some options when it came to trying to travel around the city. As you can see, I'm just going through and deleting the monorail roads that were there and trying to reconstruct it. Now we're putting it next to the highway, just so that we've got that little extra bit of coverage in terms of the monorail station. Upgrading the roads in between, and then we're just filling out kind of the rest of this space. As you can see, we've just putting the paths back in to get all of the zoning in, and then I think that's all of it done. No, almost done. So again, paths in. Now this is only a small section of the commercial. What we're going to end up doing is having the commercial kind of going around this northern part of the lake. And I'm going to have a park. I think I'd start putting it in later on in the episode, but we're going to have a park that kind of goes up and around the edge of the lake, and then the road's going to follow around it. It's going to give the park some space. I think in the end it's going to be an amusement park is what I've got set up there at the moment. But as you can see, I'm kind of just going around and putting in the zoning for the commercial space. It is going to be all high density zoning, and I think in the end it becomes leisure, if I remember correctly. Here I am just putting in some paths so that people have options when it comes to traversing the city. I'm trying to figure out ways of filling up a little bit of the space, but as you can see, really just making sure that every part of the city, or a lot of the city, is covered, and then putting in some trees in that central one. You can see that I use, so I probably haven't mentioned this before, but the way that I use the different road types is to help me distinguish kind of whether they're a main road or if they're not a main road. And I know that you could do that by using like the bigger roads and everything. But for some spaces I want to be able to go, right, this is like a main road, so we want it to be this kind of road. Or this one isn't, or this one's branched off like 5 times, so we're going to leave it as it is. But so I've got I think usually what I'll use is I'll use the 2-lane roads with trees and 2-lane roads with grass on the side. And if I remember correctly, they don't allow parking. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen anybody park on those roads in particular. And the reason why I do that is just because they make the city look a little bit nicer. And here in New Zealand we have a big thing where cities, we try to get them to look as nice as possible. Here you can see I'm laying out kind of the park area, because I want to try to get some of it sorted straight away, but I don't get to building the park straight away. I just renaming it so that it's the same as the commercial district that it's sitting next to. And now we're moving on to constructing what's going to be a pretty central part of our office districts. And this space will expand on in a future episode. I think I'll talk about it at the end. But just in case we don't, I'm kind of building the city up in blocks. And the reason why I'm doing it in blocks is because it's a little bit easier to manage. As you can see, I'm just building avenues. I'm trying to figure out the distance, because I think I was going to build like a couple more grids, but then I decided no, one avenue going down the center, it will do it, that will be fine. And then I go through and I start tearing out sections here and there, and as you can see, I'm building the road fairly close to the main avenue. And what we're going to do is we're going to put, I think it's a line of paths next to that particular avenue, and it's just to try and give us as much space without taking up the without getting in the way of the avenue itself, without, you know, putting zoning on the avenue itself. Here you can see I'm reconstructing part of the office zoning. Yeah, so I had to fiddle around with a little bit to see if we could get it so it all fitted together nicely. And once again, we're trying to get monorails into the city. I do a thing where I'll lay out all the roads first, and you can see it kind of happening on screen at the moment. But I'll lay out all the roads first, and as I lay out the roads, once I've got the roads laid out and I'm happy with it, I then go in and I start putting in things like the services and everything, which I think is something that I did forget to do. We forgot a couple of the services, but we can always add them to other parts of the other districts, particularly because some of the bigger services that we can use will happily take up a little bit of space. But here you can see I'm putting in paths to kind of correct the zoning, and I think I was trying to see if I could get it closer to that particular road, closer to the avenue, but it didn't work. But yeah, just going around using paths to fix up zoning and then filling in the zoning with office space. Here you can see I'm putting in the pipes, laying down pipes so that all of the office space has got water. And then we're just kind of going through and putting down the pipes. And as you can see, I do have the game paused. Between episodes, or between recording sessions, I did leave the game running for a little bit, so that I could, you know, generate enough money that I could do, kind of do this entire build without having to like stop and let a little bit of money flow back in. Here you can see I'm building like another street, and we're putting it relatively close to the avenue. This time it is only the northern part of the road that's next to the main avenue that connects the two highway sections. And I think, so a big reason why I had the two highway connections connected like this is because it just gives us the extra space that we need to keep traffic flowing through the area. I think something that could be improved with the commercial space on the other side, which we might improve in a future episode, we might not, we'll see what happens, is potentially giving it a few more routes in and out of that, you know, particular area. Here we're once again putting roads right next to the avenue, just trying to fill up that space as much as possible. As you can see, I'm trying to figure out ways of, you know, once again filling all of the avenue space, getting rid of as much of it as possible. And I realized, hey, this spot here is would really work if we could chuck like a park in. So I end up putting a couple of these paradox plazas in, because they look nice, and they kind of fitted into the area pretty nicely. But as you can see, we're just trying to fiddle around with parks a little bit to see if we can put them in anywhere else. As you can see, I quickly figure out, hey, we can actually put the park here, and then we just take that spot out, and yeah, looks like it's all going pretty well so far. The office areas, I think, are fairly... they're not complicated in the way that I build them, but I did spend a lot of time going back and forward, deleting sections that I wasn't particularly happy with. As you can see, I do spend a lot of time going back and forward, and a lot of this was just me trying to fill in that space, but not just fill in space, also trying to get not just trying to fill in space, but trying to make use of the space that we've got. And then here I am going in, putting paths between the different streets and the plazas that we've just put in, just filling up some of the space, reworking the zoning once again with this avenue. And then I decide, hey, this area here right next to the highway, we could build more office space, but I decided, you know what, this would work for like a nice big park. I started putting a district around I started putting a park space around the entire district, and was like, wait, hold on, I've got the wrong tool selected. But while we've got this selected, I'm going to put in the zoning around the office, well, not around the office space, but around where I wanted to put the park. And I'm just filling in a little bit, making it a little bit nicer, and then we're going around the actual district itself and filling it in so that we've got a nice little district in this space as well. And it will become, I think, part of the major, what am I thinking? Part of the major office block. Offices don't particularly care if they're blocked by, or if they have to deal with sound, so it's kind of a good way to, they're kind of a good way to make sure that you fill in everything. Here, this road wasn't quite working nicely, and I think I tried a couple of ways of sorting it out, but I don't think the road particularly wanted, I don't think the road wanted to work particularly nicely, so I had to tear it out, put it back in to get it in, and then we're just filling in the rest of the office space putting in some roads to connect. Sorry, not roads, but paths to connect some of the roads and paths that we've already got in place. And then filling in the pipes again. Pipes are fairly important. If you don't give them water, they do start to complain. Here we are, just connecting it to the rest of the city's water network. Filling out the pipes. Yeah. How's everyone doing? Earlier this week, here in New Zealand, it was pretty big news. We went down to level 1, which means that everything's kind of open except for our borders, which is pretty exciting because we had 0 cases for 0 new cases for a period of time, and then I think it was at some point over the weekend we had 0 cases just in general. Like our last active case, well, didn't perish, but our last active case recovered, I think, is what happened. As you can see, I'm in the video, I am putting in the roads at the moment. Not the roads, the fences for the park. But yeah, no, we've got no active cases in New Zealand that, you know, the government is aware of. So I think we're trying to focus on our recovery at this stage. So coming back to what's happening on screen, we unfortunately inputting like fences around the park space. We do have a couple of points where, because of the quays that I've got around the lake, I've had to just kind of hide the fact that the fence doesn't go all the way to the quay. Not that it would particularly help, I think, but it kind of helped me. Like, I looked at it and was like, actually, I don't like that sitting there like that, so I'm just laying a little bit of a path to go through the park itself. As you can see, it just kind of makes its way around, and then we're filling in the rest of the space, the rest of the fence. And again, we have another one of these points where it kind of didn't go right to the quay, so I kind of stuck a rock in there, make it look like something was blocking it. And then we're just sticking some trees along the fence that sits next to the highway. Kind of just try and hide the fact that the highway is there. I mean, the highway is there, there's nothing we can do to change that. But yeah, just filling in the space, putting some trees. I very rarely individually place trees. I have a mod in my own playthrough. I know I talk about this a lot, but it's like it's a mod that lets me just like place the thought was on my mind. I had it like there. It was there. It lets me place like trees and like vegetation and stuff in groups. You know, like you get the district tool, and it kind of lets you paint a district. It lets me paint like props like trees and rocks and vegetation and stuff. Here I think in the last time I tried to do this recording, I noticed that I couldn't get a monorail through that roundabout underneath the highway, and I know a way to solve that would have just been to make the highway go a little bit higher, but I decided no, what we're going to do instead is we're going to play around with a few of these transport hubs. And so initially I was like, okay, so we can put the train, metro, monorail hub on one side, and then I was going to put it on the other side as well, but then I was like, well, that's like got 2 trains that are taking up space, 2 train tracks that are taking up space. So I was like, okay, so what we're going to do instead is we're going to use the base game metro station and the monorail station on the road. And then what I did was I looked at a couple of the other options that we had to see, you know what we could have used maybe instead. but I don't think there are many monorail options, which is a little disappointing. I kind of really like monorails. I don't know if that's a thing that everybody particularly agrees on, but I think monorails are pretty cool, and that might just be because like I've never seen them before, where I've never, we don't have them here in New Zealand, so but yeah, here I am just trying to figure out the right distance for that particular part of the monorail track, and I think I just gave up at the end and was like, well, the game seems to think it knows what it's doing. And then, yeah, just putting in some nice little train tracks. And initially I was going to have both train tracks go out, but then I was like, actually, no, what we could do is we could have it folded into like the one train line, because it doesn't necessarily need to be using, like it doesn't need like 4 tracks. Theoretically, it only needs 2. And then I'm putting in a monorail track for the other part of the monorail station, and the reason for that is so that when we go to build the residential and the rest of the office space along that side of the highway, we can do that. So I've stopped here for a little bit to let the zoning build up. As you can see, we have the commercial district. It is building up now. We do have a ferry stop on the quay next to the commercial spacing, and this is just to give like another route into the commercial area for our population. And yeah, and then I realized, hey, these guys don't actually have any power, which is a little bit of a problem. I've also made the office district a IT cluster, which means that it generates, I think it generates more revenue, requires less workers though, which means that we can put those workers into other areas. And there was another thing about it, but yeah, so I've done that. And the commercial space, I think I made it a leisure center, so it's going to be open 24/7. And I'm just chucking in the monorail lines at the moment, and then as you can see here, chucking in the ones that will go around the office space. I did kind of look at it and was like, well, how are we going to do this? But I think we figured it out in the end. There might be a little bit of an overlap somewhere, but I was kind of just like, well, it just needs to do a thing. So I stopped to have a look at what people are complaining about, or telling us we need to do, but I think most of it's pretty good for now. Oh yeah, I do go in and change this particular part of the avenue because I was like, well, we don't need it like this anymore. So I give it a little bit more space. I don't think I check the monorail track to see if it still works or what it was doing in terms of looping and stuff, but I kind of just assumed that it was fine. And here I'm kind of fiddling around with the train track because I realized, hey, we don't actually, we want to be able to use this space for the city itself. So I start putting the train tracks underground, and then I built it across to the train line that's on the other side of the city, and connected it to the intercity train line, so we will start getting some tourists coming in, or start having some of our population will start leaving. Here I'm just kind of fiddling with the district policies to see if we can get less vehicles on the road inside the city and people using the public transport a little bit more. I think what we might have to do is put free public transport on the commercial districts, just to try and limit the number of people trying to use the roads, with their own cars. Hopefully we can get them moving about with their own transport. Well, hopefully maybe they'll start using those boats. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. I think actually a big part of the problem might be because of the highway. So people are probably going to prefer using the highway over using any of the public transport options that we've got. Here I'm just building out the highway so that we've got the city nice and divided. And this highway is just going to be a big thing that we're going to have go kind of right around. And on this part of the highway that's on kind of the inside, we're going to have all of the commercial space. Just that way, you know, any commercial traffic can just go flow quite nicely around. Here I kind of stop to consider what I'm doing, or I might be letting money jump back up a little bit. I can't remember. I probably should have cut this out. That's okay. We're just gonna sit here for a little bit. Actually, I think that's it. I don't know what happened there. Whoops. I'm gonna leave it in there because, you know, I make mistakes. I'm kind of just fleshing around, trying to make sure it's all powered. However, this is where I'm going to leave this particular time lapse, and I'm going to hand you back to Past Me, who will do the outro and explain what we'll be doing in the next couple of episodes. So passing it back to Future Me. Alright, thank you very much, Future Me. So I am back, old me here, yep. 2 hours of recording, well, not 2 hours actually. It's currently sitting at like 102 minutes, which is what, an hour and 40 minutes. I just wanted to pop in and say that I will be stopping this episode here, and the construction of the Central Business District will happen in 2 parts. I'm doing this episode in 2 parts simply because I can feel my brain turning to mush already. And I still have like a whole bunch of other videos that I need to do, and this video is technically running late anyway. It will be out on time, hopefully, but at the moment it is just running a little bit late. As you can see though, we have more demand for residential, which is fairly important, particularly when we want, now that we're kind of wanting to expand on the city a little bit more. What we're going to do is we're going to keep this area here is going to end up becoming like one massive commercial area. Like, I think we'll just have the commercial area stretch like right around. And this will include a leisure, this will include a leisure area and a tourism area. The tourism area will probably end up down here at some point, but at the moment we've got Robin Hills, which has got like a bunch of buildings which have all got not enough buyers for products. Just complaining about fresh water. Who's complaining? Honestly, what is my water budget like? I've maxed it out. Do you know what that tells me? That tells me we need another one of these suckers. I think because we're about to like absolutely boost the heck out of our population, I'm going to put in a couple of them. Water treatment plant, drain capacity 1,600,000, 1,200,000, 6,000. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to pause the game real quick. Get rid of you, get rid of you, get rid of you. And we'll put in... well, we'll have to get rid of... no, because you're not. If we put you one here and one here, and then pipes will go boom and boom. Now these water treatment plants, 20,000, which is even better. Water treatment plant purifies most of the sewage before it is pumped out. So if we go like that, they should start working soon. Come on. There we go. There they go. Excellent. Alright, so we now have water being pumped out, which is good, and it's been purified a little. Not so great that it is kind of flooding the place, but they can be sorted later. In a couple of episodes, although it might happen in the next one, depending on how we go. But in a couple of episodes, I reckon we will be able to crack the 25,000 population goal for this particular scenario. Once we get the 25,000 population, what it's really going to become is just a case of trying to trying to get enough people kind of funneling through the city to get them going places. And I think one very cheeky way that we could go about it is if we actually look at the milestones. We want to look at... By building specialized harbors, you can transport passengers or cargo with ships into and out of your city. We can't really do that because we're in the middle of nowhere. At 40,000 we get a helicopter. It's not until 60,000, so when we reach a metropolis, that we get the airport and the cargo airport, which would also be useful. I think the cargo airport. This is like maybe a couple of episodes in the future, but I don't want to kind of talk about it now. So this area over here, this is going to become our new industry area. And the reason why this is going to become a new industry area is because it's smack bang right next to a nice old train track. Which means that it's nice and easy to just fly resources in and out of the city. We have a passenger train, which is currently transporting 21 people to Spring Valley. Why you leave? Why you leave? But we do have this train network here, which is nice. And it's connected to this Metro Monorail train hub, and I'll probably explain this in the video. But what is going to happen is we're going to extend this out this way, and this isn't all going to be office space. This will kind of be office space as it comes around the motorway, just because the office areas can border this part nicely. What we might also do is upgrade this train track again so that we can stick a couple of cargo train terminals into it. That way we can, have forestry products being transported all over the place. We like that. We like having our products being transported very easily and nicely. But yeah, this area here, this is just going to become like a massive industry zone. And I look forward to it. We're just going to absolutely destroy this entire area. I may at some point give this area the same treatment that I have given this area, as in I'm going to border the heck out of it. But that might not be for a while. But yeah. So in the next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to start construction of the residential areas for the city. And yeah, potentially expanding out. We'll do a couple of things in the next episode. We're going to focus on the residential area for our city centre, and then the next part that we will focus on in the next episode, it may actually be part of the first section of the next episode, is we will finish out the park that will be here. On screen you'll be seeing a couple of videos in a minute. The one on the left will be to a video, the previous video in the series, and on the right hand side it will be a random video selected by YouTube's algorithm. No, I won't. That will be in next week's video. Scratch that. If you enjoyed this episode, if you like this format, make sure you comment down below, like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends, all of that. It really helps. And if you have any ideas for names for things like our districts and potentially our public transport hubs, put them down in the comments as well, and I will have a look at them. Maybe what we can do at some point is I might put it up on my Twitter, depending on the names that I get down below. But what we can do is we can do like a poll that I'll run for like a couple of weeks, and then, you know, whatever names kind of get the most votes from that, we'll give them to like districts and stuff. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying this series. Until next time, keep being awesome, everyone. I'll see you around.